Hi guys, my name is Samrid Rela and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I will be talking about multi-asset funds. In this video, I will be covering three things. Number one, what are multi-asset funds? Number two, why do you need multi-asset funds in your portfolio? And number three, three best multi-asset funds to invest in. Now, if you're an investor or not, doesn't matter. I'm sure you know that the markets have been falling down since the past few months. Markets peaked on 26 September 2024 and since then have been plummeting. There have been a few reasons behind this. Number one, there was weaker earnings growth than expected in quarter 2 and quarter 3 of FY 2025, which has led to FII outflows. In 2025 itself, FIIs have withdrawn more than rupees 1 lakh crores. Secondly, there has been fear of Donald Trump's trade tariffs that he has said he'll be imposing on many countries, and he's already imposed on countries like China, Mexico, and Canada. And thirdly, there was a lot of heat built up in the small cap and the mid cap space because of expensive valuations. Now, one question as an investor that would pop up in your mind is what to do in these uncertain times. So, asset allocation is an important aspect during volatile times. You should have different asset classes in your portfolio so that your portfolio volatility goes down. Now, there are two ways of doing this. One way is to allocate your portfolio to equity, debt, gold, real estate, etc., and monitor the allocation on a timely basis. But that seems like a lot of work because it's sort of a manual process to do. Now, an easier approach would be to invest in hybrid funds. What are hybrid funds? So, hybrid funds invest in two or more asset classes that are not correlated. Since there's low correlation, the portfolio volatility automatically goes down. Now, according to SEBI, there are seven subcategories of hybrid funds, namely, firstly, conservative hybrid fund, second, balanced hybrid fund, third, aggressive hybrid fund, fourth, dynamic asset allocation fund, fifth, multi asset allocation fund, sixth, arbitrage fund, and seventh, equity savings fund. However, in this video, we will just be talking about multi asset allocation funds because we are more focused on asset allocation here. Now, what are multi asset allocation funds? So, multi asset allocation funds invest in at least three asset classes with a minimum allocation of 10% in each asset class. Apart from equity and debt, gold or real estate is usually the preferred third asset class. Now, for an example, let's just say that a fund manager believes that the stock markets are going to do well in the next 6 months. He has the discretion to change his allocation more towards equity and lesser towards the other two asset classes. Now, the discretion of management on asset allocation allows them to decide where to put money. Now that we have understood multi asset allocation funds are important to invest in, the question arises which multi asset allocation fund to invest in. Although there are about 28 funds in this category, but 22 of them were listed only in 2020 and later, so we will not consider them because of their short existence. Now, to decide where to invest in, I have taken two broad market scenarios, one where the markets are falling, and the other when the markets are rising. Firstly, let's consider about the case where the markets are falling. Now, I have taken three phases under when the markets are falling. As you can see on your screen, the first phase is between 29th January 2015 to 11th February 2016. During this 1 year phase, the Sensex plummeted by about 23%. Now, as you can see, Quant Multi Asset and SBI Multi Asset gave 7% each return during this phase, whereas HDFC, Axis, UTI, and ICICI gave returns of 2%, 3%, 15%, and 16% respectively. And I have given them a rank accordingly. One thing to notice here is that the markets have fallen more than any other fund. The markets fell by 23%, whereas the worst performing fund here, which is ICICI, fell by 16%. Now let's talk about the second phase, which happened between 14 January 2020 to 23rd March 2020. The Sensex plummeted by almost 38% here, and the rest of the funds, as you can see, all of them delivered negative returns, and the worst performing fund was Quant, which delivered a return of negative 31%. So, talking about the third phase, which is the current phase. So, it starts from 26 September 2024 and goes on till 13th March 2025. So, during this time frame, Sensex delivered a negative return of 14%. Talking about the funds, So during this time frame, ICICI did the best, which it delivered a negative return of -4%, and Quant performed the worst, where it delivered a -10% return. The rest of the funds falling between these two funds. One thing that we have clearly established is that multi-asset funds fall lesser than the broader index. Now let's talk about the case of rising markets. I have taken two phases here. Phase 1 is from 23rd March 2020 to 18th October 2021, where the Sensex delivered a return of 138%. And during this time frame, Quant delivered a return of 94%, which is the best performing fund, whereas the worst performing fund, SBI, delivered a return of 34%. Phase 2 is from 17 June 2020 to 26 September 2024, where Sensex delivered a return of 67%, whereas the other funds, so again here, Quant delivered the highest return of 36%, whereas the rest of the funds fall below Quant, and the worst performing fund during this time frame was Axis, which delivered a return of 21%. One thing again important that we can see here is that multi-asset funds rise lesser than the broader index. Taking quantitative aspects like ranking and returns into consideration, and qualitative factors like risk, portfolio diversification, fund managers' history and performance, the top three funds in the multi asset allocation fund category are: number one, we have ICICI Prudential Multi Asset Allocation Fund. At number two position, we have SBI Multi Asset Allocation Fund. And number three position is UTI Multi Asset Allocation Fund. So, in case you plan to invest in multi asset allocation category, you can consider investing in these funds. So, that's it from this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.